because you're mine, I walk the line.
Country music has always sold itself as a moral compass. Love, faith, heartbreak, and redemption in 3 neat verses. But peel back the rhinestones and church-friendly smiles, and you'll find stories so tangled they make any cheating ballad sound tame. The affairs you're about to hear weren't just tabloid fodder. They drove record sales, rewrote careers, and in some cases, destroyed lives. Some ended in wedding vows, others in court papers, screaming matches, or headlines no one wanted. Yet each one carved a mark on the music still spinning from jukeboxes today. So let's throw open the backstage door and walk right into the heart of country's most infamous entanglements. Dolly Parton and Porter Wagoner. When Dolly Parton stepped onto the set of the Porter Wagoner Show in 1967, she was 21, fresh from the Smoky Mountains, and armed with a voice that could slice through the static of an AM radio. Porter Wagoner, already a household name, was draped in rhinestones, quick with a joke, and just as quick to remind everyone he ran the show. On camera, their duets looked like the purest kind of magic. His deep, steady voice wrapped around her crystal soprano in a way that made audiences feel like they were eavesdropping on something intimate. The chemistry sparked rumors immediately. Dolly was married to Carl Dean, Porter to his wife Ruth, but their body language made fans suspicious. He called her "my girl" on air, and she smiled at him like she knew exactly what people were thinking. Behind the scenes, Porter was mentor, boss, and gatekeeper. He championed Dolly's career, but also demanded creative control, guiding her wardrobe, song choices, and public image. Over the years, tension built, part power struggle, part emotional entanglement. Dolly has since said that Porter broke her heart, though not in the traditional romantic way. By 1974, Dolly knew she had to leave to grow her career, but Porter saw it as betrayal. He threatened lawsuits. Instead of a screaming match, Dolly picked up a pen and wrote, "I Will Always Love You," a bittersweet goodbye and a masterclass in turning pain into profit. It became a number. One hit, Elvis Presley tried to record it, and Dolly famously refused when his manager demanded half the publishing rights. That single decision secured her millions in royalties decades later, especially after Whitney Houston's cover became one of the biggest selling singles of all time. Porter never fully recovered from her departure. Years later, he admitted it left him creatively lost. Dolly, meanwhile, built an empire, and "I Will Always Love You" became a symbol, proof that a complicated, almost love could leave both a broken heart and a fortune in its wake. George Jones and Tammy Wynette. In the late 60s, George Jones was already known as the Possum, a voice like silk, a drinking habit like a freight train. Tammy Wynette, fresh from a controlling first marriage, believed she could save him. Their whirlwind courtship ended with a 1969 wedding, the press dubbing them the President and First Lady of country music. Behind closed doors, it was chaos. George would vanish for days on benders, coming back with flowers one day and slurred apologies the next. Tammy hid his car keys once to keep him from buying whiskey, only for George to ride a lawnmower 8 miles into town instead. She allegedly tied his legs together in bed to keep him from slipping out at night. Their fights were the stuff of legend. Smashed dishes, slammed doors, reconciliations that barely lasted. And yet, their music together was electrifying. Hits like Golden Ring and Two-Story House felt ripped straight from their own diary, and fans devoured every note. By the time they divorced in 1975, the heartbreak was public property, and record sales spiked. They'd sing together again years later, their voices carrying the ache of people who had lived every lyric. Their story proved that in country music, sometimes the messiest love makes the most timeless songs. Kristofferson and Jeannie Joplin. Kris Kristofferson came to Nashville with a Rhodes Scholarship, a stint as a helicopter pilot, and a pen sharp enough to carve out a place among country's greatest songwriters. Jeannie Joplin was rock and roll's raw nerve, unpredictable, magnetic, and on a collision course with tragedy. They met in 1970 at the Landmark Motel in Hollywood. It was instant combustion. Nights of poetry, bourbon, and shouting matches that could end with either a song or a slammed door. Chris played her Me and Bobby McGee, and Janice demanded it as her own. She recorded it just 3 days before she overdosed at 27, the single shot to number one after her death, making Chris a household name. But it also left him with a lifelong tangle of gratitude and guilt. Their brief affair was a warning to Nashville about the cost of stepping too far into rock's chaotic orbit, but also proof that one volatile relationship can change the course of music history. Loretta Lynn and Oliver Doolittle Lynn. Loretta Lynn married Oliver Lynn at just 15. They lived in a cramped Kentucky cabin, raising children while he drank and cheated with little effort to hide it. But Doo also bought her first guitar and told her she could be more than a housewife. Loretta turned their marital battles into country anthems. Fist City was a warning shot to barroom floozies, while Don't Come Home A-Drinkin' painted a vivid picture of domestic resentment. Radio programmers blushed, churchgoers clutched pearls, but women across America nodded in recognition. She never left him. Their marriage lasted nearly 50 years. A volatile blend of love, betrayal, and survival. By putting her own pain on the airwaves, Loretta cracked Nashville's polite facade and made it clear that women could sing about the ugly side of marriage and still sell millions. Billy Sherrill and his singers. Billy Sherrill was the man behind some of country's most lush, heart-wrenching productions. He could coax a hit out of almost anyone. But industry whispers claimed his charm extended beyond the mixing console, with late-night vocal coaching sessions that blurred professional and personal boundaries. Married but magnetic, Billy was rumored to have crossed lines with some of the very women whose voices he polished. Nothing was ever proven, but the cloud around him was thick enough to push labels into writing stricter conduct policies decades before the Me Too era. His productions for Tammy, including Stand By Your Man and Till I Can Make It On My Own, took on double meanings for those who knew the rumors. Genius or exploitation? Nashville never agreed, but it never forgot. Merle Haggard and his many muses. Merle Haggard's life was already the stuff of legend. Prison time at San Quentin, a second chance through music, and a voice that sounded like it had lived 1,000 lives. But his personal life was as restless as his songwriting. Over the course of 5 marriages, Merle juggled overlapping romances, often dedicating songs to one woman while traveling with another. His second wife, singer Bonnie Owens, not only forgave, she kept touring and harmonizing with him after their divorce, even while he was openly courting his next wife. The arrangement baffled outsiders, but fueled some of the most painfully honest songs in his catalog, like Today I Started Loving You Again. Merle's tangled love life made him the unofficial patron saint of the outlaw country movement. He proved you didn't have to be perfect. You just had to tell the truth, even if it was messy. And fans didn't just accept the flaws, they expected them. Lefty Frizzell and his barroom romances. Lefty Frizzell had a voice so smooth it influenced generations, from Willie Nelson to George Strait. But the man behind the microphone was a magnet for trouble. Constant touring led to lonely nights and quick flings, many of which ended in drunken brawls or awkward apologies in small-town courtrooms. His wife, Alice, endured whispers about waitresses, fans, and fellow performers. The pain seeped into Lefty's music. I Never Go Around Mirrors sounded like a man drowning in his own guilt, because he was. By the time cirrhosis forced him off the road, his bank account was nearly empty, but his reputation as a hard-living, heartbroken troubadour was immortal. Young singers still study his phrasing, often forgetting that the authenticity they admire cost him his marriage, his health, and eventually his life. Jeannie C. Riley and Tom T. Hall. In 1968, Jeannie C. Riley went from secretary to superstar with Harper Valley PTA, written by Tom T. Hall. The song's sharp storytelling and rebellious energy made it a crossover smash, but it was the rumor surrounding its creation that gave it extra fuel. Jeannie and Tom spent hours together in the studio, fine-tuning the delivery. Industry insiders swore the spark between them went beyond the music. They never confirmed or denied anything, but their close collaboration gave every lyric an extra wink for listeners who wanted to believe. The gossip didn't hurt sales. It helped. Harper Valley PTA became the first song by a woman to top both the pop and country charts, and it showed Nashville a new formula. Pair controversy with a hit and watch the numbers climb. Johnny Cash and June Carter. When Johnny Cash met June Carter backstage in 1956, sparks flew instantly. The problem? He was married with 4 children, and she was married to fellow country singer Carl Smith. For over a decade, they toured together, denying rumors while exchanging glances on stage that burned hotter than the spotlights. Cash's addictions and arrests fueled the drama. June, with her wit and warmth, was both his anchor and his temptation. In 1968, just days after Johnny's first wife, Vivian, filed for divorce, he proposed to June on stage in front of a live audience. They married soon after, and the pairing softened Johnny's outlaw image. Nashville learned an important marketing truth. A public sinner could sell just as many records as a saint, as long as the redemption story was good enough. Eddy Arnold and his double life. Eddy Arnold's voice was pure butter, his image squeaky clean. But road managers whispered about the Snowman's arrangements, discreet companions in different cities, motel rooms booked under fake names. Because Eddy's fan base leaned heavily on his wholesome charm, the press didn't dare dig too deep. Journalists who tried found themselves blacklisted from label events. By the time rumors finally reached the public, it didn't matter. His songs had already been woven into wedding playlists and family memories. His career became a case study in Nashville's long-standing habit: sing virtue, live vice, and keep the audience believing what they see on the album cover. Garth Brooks and Trisha Yearwood. Garth Brooks met Trisha Yearwood in 1987 when they were both married to other people. They became fast friends, recording demos and trading late-night phone calls from the road. Fans picked up on the undercurrent in their duets, but the two swore it was strictly platonic. The rumor simmered for over a decade, fed by every lingering harmony and onstage smile. In 2001, Garth divorced his wife, Sandy, and 4 years later, he married Trisha. By then, the "are they or aren't they" question had been fueling headlines for nearly 20 years. It was proof that a slow-burn rumor could keep two artists relevant for decades, and that sometimes the public loves the chase as much as the payoff. Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn. The duet that wouldn't die when Conway Twitty and Loretta Lynn recorded their first duet in 1971. It was clear they had something special. Their voices melted into each other like they'd been singing together forever. Both were married, but the chemistry in songs like "Led Me On" was undeniable. DJs joked that listeners should cover their ears during the spoken word bridges. The public waited for confirmation that they were more than musical partners. It never came. The ambiguity became part of the act. They scored 5 consecutive #1 duets, fueled in part by an audience desperate to know what happened after the curtain closed. Nashville learned a valuable lesson. Sometimes, the hint of scandal sells better than the scandal itself. Charlie Rich's CMA Meltdown. In 1975, Charlie Rich, known as the Silver Fox, was tasked with announcing the CMA Entertainer of the Year. He opened the envelope, saw John Denver's name, and without a word, pulled out a lighter and set it on fire in front of a live audience. He claimed later it was a protest against pop music creeping into country. Insiders, however, whispered about personal jealousy, a rumored betrayal involving his wife and another artist. Whatever the truth, the stunt cost him radio play and bookings. It became a cautionary tale. Let your private grievances spill onto the public stage, and you might burn your career faster than a name card. Patti Loveless and Vince Gill. In the early 90s, Patti Loveless and Vince Gill recorded "My Kind of Woman, My Kind of Man." Both were married, but their harmonies had an intimacy that was impossible to fake. Award show audiences noticed the extra-long hugs, the way their eyes lingered. The press dubbed it an emotional affair, a term still new at the time. Neither spouse filed for divorce, and nothing concrete ever surfaced. But the whispers added an emotional depth to their duets that pure vocals couldn't achieve alone. They showed that even the idea of temptation could make a song unforgettable, and that in country music, longing is sometimes more powerful than fulfillment. Hank Williams and Audrey Shepherd. Hank Williams' marriage to Audrey Shepherd was a powder keg from the start. He drank, he cheated, and Audrey matched him, shout for shout. Their fights sometimes spilled onto the grand old Opry stage, with bandmates caught in the middle. The turbulence fueled Hank's songwriting. Your Cheatin' Heart was both a confession and an accusation. The public lapped it up because they could hear the truth in every note. Hank died at 29, a mix of painkillers and alcohol in his system. His early death froze him in time, a tortured genius whose songs would outlive the chaos that inspired them. His story became the ultimate example of country music's most enduring lesson. Sometimes the most self-destructive love stories make the most enduring art. These weren't just scandals, they were turning points. They sold records, rewrote careers, and showed that in country music, imperfection isn't just accepted, it's a selling point. Because behind every pedal steel cry and every heartbreak chorus, there's a real story. And sometimes the song you love the most is just someone's deepest secret set to 3 chords.